There are names in football that echo through eternity. Icons who danced with destiny, who flirted with greatness, yet somehow fell just short of the title, the greatest of all time. They weren't just players, they were phenomena. They had everything, the talent, the charisma, the moments, but fate had other plans. Today, we revisit the legends who could have been the GOATs, the geniuses, warriors, and dreamers whose stories remind us that even brilliance can be fragile. This is Inside the Game. Number 10, Neymar Jr. Once hailed as the heir to Messi and Ronaldo, Neymar's story is one of genius entangled with fragility. When he arrived at Barcelona, the world thought it was witnessing the birth of the next global icon. His dribbling was poetry, every touch a performance, every goal a celebration of artistry. In 2015, he was at the top of the world, Champions League winner, unstoppable in attack, adored in Brazil. He didn't just play football, he made it beautiful again. But the journey that was meant to crown him instead fractured him. The world record transfer to PSG promised freedom and instead delivered isolation. Injuries mounted, critics sharpened their knives, and while Messi and Ronaldo were rewriting history, Neymar was fighting his body and his reputation. Neymar could have been the player of his generation. But sometimes greatness isn't about talent alone. It's about endurance. And endurance was his cruelest opponent. Number 9, Luis Figo. Before Cristiano, there was Figo, Portugal's original superstar, a master of precision, intelligence, and class. Figo's control of the ball wasn't flashy, but it was surgical. He played football like chess, always 2 steps ahead. His controversial transfer from Barcelona to Real Madrid in 2000 shook the world. Camp Nou burned with anger, pig's head on the pitch, betrayal in the headlines. But Figo, he stayed composed, professional, lethal. At Real Madrid, he became the face of the first Galacto era. His passes were poetry, his vision unmatched. He didn't need the spotlight. The game itself revolved around him. In another timeline, without Ronaldo or Messi overshadowing his legacy, he might have been the undisputed king.
Number 8, Kaká.
Before Ronaldo and Messi redefined dominance, Kaká was football's golden light. In 2007, he won the Ballon d'Or with a smile that lit up the sport, not because of marketing, but because of magic. At AC Milan, he glided through defenders as if time slowed down for him. He had elegance and pace, power and humility. That solo goal against Manchester United in 2007, where he made 2 defenders collide, wasn't just a highlight, it was a declaration. But fate has a cruel sense of irony. Just as the world crowned him, his body betrayed him. Injury stole his rhythm. The rise of Ronaldo and Messi eclipsed him, and suddenly Kaká became a memory of what could have been. Yet for those who witnessed his prime, he was the GOAT. Just for a moment, he owned the world.
Number 7, Wayne Rooney.
From the streets of Liverpool to the theater of dreams, Rooney wasn't just a player, he was a force of nature. At 16, he scored against Arsenal and changed English football overnight. By 18, he was a star. By 22, a champion. Rooney played like every game was a war. Blood, sweat, grit, he carried the fight in his soul. He had the vision of a midfielder, the instinct of a striker, and the heart of a captain. But for all his brilliance, his story became one of evolution and erosion. He burned bright, maybe too bright, and his decline came early. Injuries, media scrutiny, tactical changes, all chipped away at what could have been one of the most complete careers in football. Yet few players ever embody passion like Rooney. He might not be the GOAT, but he was England's heartbeat.
Number 6, Marco van Basten. A striker so elegant, so ruthless, that even the great defenders of his era feared him. Van Basten wasn't just good, he was divine. 3 Ballon d'Ors, Champions League titles, the unforgettable volley in the 1988 Euro final. He had the power, precision, and presence of a player born to dominate football's golden age. But then, at just 28, it all stopped. His ankles gave out, and the football world lost an artist in his prime. Imagine if he had just 5 more years, 5 more seasons to rewrite records, redefine forward play, and challenge the legends who came after. Injuries may have taken him from the pitch, but they couldn't erase his mark. Number 5, Francesco Totti, the King of Rome, the one-club legend who turned loyalty into immortality. Totti had everything: technique, creativity, elegance, and that uncanny ability to make football feel sacred. In another universe, he might have joined Real Madrid, lifted multiple Champions League trophies, and stood among the GOATs. But he chose something rarer: devotion. He played his entire career for AS Roma, carrying the hopes of a city, turning loyalty into legacy. He may not have won as much as others, but football isn't just about trophies. It's about meaning, and Totti gave meaning to everything he touched. Number 4, Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale was once football's next superhero. From Southampton to Spurs to Real Madrid, his rise was meteoric. Speed, strength, precision, he was unstoppable. His goals in Champions League finals were the stuff of legend. And yet, it never quite clicked. The injuries, the media narratives, the tension with fans, Bale's story became a paradox. A man who achieved greatness, yet never felt fully celebrated. But if you strip away the noise, his record is undeniable. 5 Champions League titles, unforgettable goals, and moments that defined an era. Bale may not have been the GOAT, but on his day, he looked like one. Number 3, Ronaldo Nazário. If the word GOAT existed in the 90s like it does now, it would have belonged to Ronaldo. O Fenomeno was pure chaos, blistering pace, unmatched dribbling, and finishing that defied logic. At just 20 years old, he had already conquered the world. Barcelona, Inter, Brazil. Everyone bowed to his brilliance. But then came the injuries, the knees that betrayed him, the body that couldn't contain his power. Even with that, he came back, twice. He scored 15 World Cup goals, won 2 Ballon d'Ors, and redefined the modern striker. If fate had been kinder, we might not be debating Messi versus Ronaldo. We'd be debating Ronaldo versus history. Number 2, Michael Owen. In 1998, the world met an 18-year-old kid from England who outran Argentina and time itself. That solo goal, that burst of speed, was pure, unfiltered electricity. Michael Owen wasn't just fast, he was fearless. At Liverpool, he became the nation's golden boy. He won the Ballon d'Or in 2001, led England with pride, and carried the dreams of millions. But speed comes at a price, and for Owen, that price was his body. Injuries came early and often, stripping him of what made him unstoppable. By the time he joined Real Madrid, he was already fighting a losing battle with himself. Yet even through the pain, his professionalism, his precision, and his instinct for goal never faded. For a brief, shining moment, Owen was football's meteor, burning bright, leaving everyone staring at the sky. And though his light faded too soon, it lit the path for every English prodigy who followed. Number 1, Ronaldinho. Before Messi, before Neymar, before the YouTube highlights, there was Ronaldinho. He was the smile that changed football, the showman who turned stadiums into carnivals. From the slums of Porto Alegre to the lights of Barcelona, he carried joy everywhere he went. He made defenders dance, made fans laugh, and reminded everyone that football was supposed to be fun. But behind the smile was a man who lived fast and burned bright. His peak was brief, but unforgettable. At his best, Ronaldinho wasn't just the best player in the world. He was football itself. They say Messi learned from him. Maybe, but no one ever made the game look so free. The beauty of football lies in its imperfection. Not every legend gets the crown. Not every genius gets to finish their masterpiece. But maybe that's what makes them unforgettable. So now, we turn it over to you. Tell us, which legend do you think could have been the true GOAT? This is Inside the Game.